Welcome to Micah Mania. I am Micah, and this is the Mania. We're talking about WandaVision without giving anything away. It's basically opening the door for the future of the MCU.
It was more like an origin story for Scarlet Witch in a way.
Yes.
I watched it twice because I caught a retcon. We were told in the movies that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch got their powers by way of the Mind Stone. And in episode 8, it was revealed, no, that wasn't necessarily the case. Scarlet already had her powers. She was born with them. It's just that the Mind Stone amplified, or running theory, not necessarily amplified, but gave her a glimpse into her full potential, which opened her mind up, since that would make sense because we talk about the Mind Stone anyway. Gave her a glimpse of what she could actually fully do, and then she basically became more powerful because of it. So that's the running theory of it. And like I was explaining about why that matters, because you have in the comics where they talk about, about 2012, 2015, they introduced us to a character named Chthon, who's an elder god who's responsible for the creation of chaos magic. And that's the magic that the Scarlet Witch is most associated with. The problem with that is that when they ran that story, they went from classifying the Scarlet Witch as a mutant and classifying her as a sorceress, because those who use magic are not necessarily mutants per se. They are sorcerers or sorceresses. So they're classified as a sorceress, but that basically goes against everything we've been taught about the Scarlet Witch for decades. So nobody really associates that particular story with the Scarlet Witch, but it's out there. But if the MCU sticks to what I think they're doing, especially with Doctor Strange 2 coming soon, then this is basically them confirming the Scarlet Witch as the MCU's first mutant. Not necessarily chronologically speaking, but at least in terms of the people we've gotten on screen, she's the first who's been acknowledged to having their powers at birth. So that's a big, big step.
How excited are y'all about the movies coming out?
Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man No Way Home, and the Celestial movie, because I think those 3 movies are going to give us the most direction in terms of where we're going to go into Phase 5, how they're going to bring in the Fantastic Four, and how they're going to bring in the X-Men.
Are y'all excited about this 1400? Is anybody excited?
Hell no. I ain't get the last 600 that I was supposed to get. How the hell was I supposed to be excited about the 14?
I don't know how I'm supposed to get excited about it. It's just hey, they made a new proposal. That's like going to your job and they say, oh, we thinking about giving y'all a raise.
Y'all remember when Biden was transitioning in, he was talking about Trump, he was like, as soon as I get in, we're going to give America what they want. He was resilient in his campaign run. As soon as he got up in there, he 1400 is not too shabby, is it? Hey, it's a lot peaceful. I will say that. It's a lot peaceful. It ain't a lot
it's peaceful when you ain't got to do nothing. I guess that would be considered peace. At the same time, you ran on the platform. And you were supposed to deliver on your platform. Hell, you literally would not have won the presidency, let alone the Senate, if not for Georgia. The platform for Georgia was exclusively, hey, we're going to get y'all $2,000 stimulus checks.
Hey.
Now, how y'all looking if y'all not going to deliver in 2022? We already about to hit March 2021. How soon is 2022 going to come up? Real quick. They're not going to sit here and play these games and act like there's not going to be no blowback.
All I'm going to say,
pass your damn Voting Rights Act, get the stimulus checks out, because you're literally a month behind on that shit. What are they doing?
All I say is this. I ain't getting my 600. I'm not expecting the 14. I really wasn't expecting that 2,000 to come out when he made the campaign promise. I really wasn't. I was like, niggas just, I think he talking his ass right now. So, I don't know what they expect. Hopefully 2022 is going to be better. That's all I'm going to put out.
Somebody put out a tweet that said if Trump was still in office, we would already had $2,000 checks already. And it's hard to argue with that line of thought, because hell, he was the one who put it out in the first place. So it is extremely hard to argue against that particular point. And it is extremely disappointing that we are here. March 1st will be tomorrow. And they still haven't voted on. They just voted on the relief bill, Every Republican turned the shit down. 7 Democrats turned it down. So clearly we about to be in a whole shit storm. And then you got the Senate parliamentarian talking, yeah, we're not gonna, we don't want a $15 minimum wage in the stimulus bill. What?
When you pass something like that as a $15 minimum wage, would that necessarily increase the rate of anybody else who's already making over that amount? Or are we just giving just the basis amount? Because, I mean, shoot, I don't want someone who's literally just saying, oh, well, they're automatically going to get put at 15 minimum, but if the other person's making like 15.49, he's just going to stay there while everybody else is just going to jump up with him. I don't know if that's sort of fair in a sense.
When you put it like that, I agree with you. And this is I guess is one of those things where when you talk about cost of production, as what we put out as workers, we ain't paid enough regardless. This is my opinion. The $15 minimum wage is the bare minimum of what they can do. That should be standard at the very least. What they really need to do is outline and figure out the fair wages standard, so that way people can get the proper wages that they're supposed to be getting, because even government employees right now are underpaid because we're not paid fair wages as opposed to the production that we put out. So that's where they need to start. 15 is like the baseline. And you got to go up from there. You can't just say 15 and then we're done. We've given y'all a fair minimum wage. No, that's not good enough for me.
Thinking about how long are we gonna have that for? Because I mean, just like you were saying, the price of us our work as workers at this point, especially during COVID. I mean, once we kind of get used to COVID and everything, and the majority of the people start coming back to work, that's gonna be a lot more people you gotta pay. And if we're already underpaying people in government and we're already underpaying employees as it is, even with the $15 minimum wage, how are we going to be able to at least keep a constant flow of workers?
Easiest way to get that done, enforce the tax rules and tax laws on the corporations and people who ain't paying what they're supposed to be paying. If you do that, you're going to bring a whole bunch of money back into the country. That's step 1. Step 2 is stop inflating the budgets of these police unions and these military contracts in which a lot of money is being wasted, because that's the honest fact is a lot of money is just being sent and thrown around to these different police unions, and all these military defense contractors are getting money to throw away when we could be reinvesting in that into our economic and socioeconomic and social ecostructure. So if you do those 2 things alone, then there should be no reason why we can't support everybody getting across the board a $15 minimum wage at minimum, and making sure that the companies who are providing that can afford to do so without actually cutting costs or cutting people in order to get that done. A lot of the problems that we have money-wise would be solved if the people who are supposed to be paying their fair share of taxes were paying their fair share of taxes. But they don't. People like us are paying our fair share, more so than we end up paying more usually than the people who were supposed to be paying their fair share. So a lot of them get away with paying nothing. And so they just suck up all the money, and we're stuck trying to figure out, and having this conversation. Well, what if we got to worry about people losing their jobs because they just started forcing the $15 minimum wage? We wouldn't have to worry about that if they're paying their fucking taxes. So now, make sure they pay their fucking taxes. Stop giving extra money to the Pentagon and all these contractors and all these police unions that are going to sit there and buy shit that they're not even going to use, let alone if they spend the money at all. And you got money to put back into communities. You got money to put back into healthcare, education, and the economy. You be set.
For me recently, you know what I'm saying, I've been going through a lot of relationship issues, and recently I've just gotten out of a relationship. So I'm kind of looking at everything a little bit different as far as like, okay, I just came from worrying about two people trying to build, and now I'm just going back to building solo. So what is one thing that I guess in your experience, how did you go through that transition?
Man, that's a tough question, bro. Because, like, in a way, I feel like I'm in between. I've been chasing somebody for years, and I want to build with that particular person. And the funny thing is, my best friend asked me a question on my birthday. And that question was, ask yourself, what are the things that you want for yourself that do not require anybody else? If you can answer that question, you can build a 5-year plan just based on that alone. And, like, it took me, like, a couple of days to come up with one thing. Because when I started going through the line, I was like, okay, I know I want to have a house of my own. That's one thing I want. But at the same time, and that's where I'm like, my train of thought started going off, because to me, having my own house means damn near nothing without having someone to share it with. It's just another place I've lived in.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Boy, Marlon, that was like, y'all know how vision we talking?
I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief, if not love persevering?
Let me pull a Marlon combo. Can I pull a Marlon?
You pull a Marlon?
What is a home if you ain't got nobody to share with?
Just speaking how I feel. That's just me personally. Some people, hey, I want to be alone. So for them people, that's all they got a house and it's their house. So to some people, it just, where you live means different things. It could be, something that I could just say is mine, just the same way, paying off your car could be, and to other people like me, it's, a place where I want to share, my hopes and dreams and build a legacy from and start from there. We're going to speak as Black men. So, like, as Black men, the best thing we can do, especially if you're trying to pursue a Black woman, and I don't know, Keith, if you plan on dating outside the race or whatnot, if you already have or whatever, I'm just saying, if that is something that is, at least in our generation, mental health and emotional health is definitely important. So, like, you have to be at the very least willing and putting in work and getting your mental and your emotional health in order. Because if you feel like it's out of order in any way, shape, or form, if there's one thing that getting into a new relationship that you are most worried that will trigger you, you have got to figure out why that is a trigger for you. And at the very least, explore the signs and figure out some remedies that you can probably practice on your own. So even if you won't completely not be a trigger, it'll be something that you can recognize and you can communicate that to your future partner. Other thing, getting back to, stepping out in the emotional side of things and stepping into the mental side of things, is that recognizing the things that we need, making sure we voice and communicate those things, let alone voicing the things that, we don't want. That takes a certain level of strength. And for men, that's a lot harder to do than I think women understand, because, see, we are used to voicing shit that is physical. Like, hey, you got a fat ass out, let me holler, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? When you gonna let me come through, so on and so forth. Like, they're used to us voicing physical things. Mental and emotional things are different. So to elevate yourself next, be able to practice, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. Even when it comes down to the financial and, social things in regards to what you think a person should bring to the table in your relationship, having the ability to voice said things and voice your boundaries gives you way more power than not. So establish what you want to desire for yourself.
Okay.
Establish a certain level of mental and emotional health that will, at the very least, prepare you for the next person, or at the very least make you okay with waiting a while if it's going to take a while. Establishing, being comfortable and establishing, your boundaries.
Particularly for Black men, when we discuss how to communicate effectively with our Black women with such emotions, as far as, hey, listen, financially, I need you to be able to do this. Or, hey, when you talk, I don't need you to such and such this way, because I'm going to take that as being defensive. Because in somewhat of my experiences, maybe when I look around and right now I'm like just vetting and kind of just looking out and seeing what the scene looks like, I'm seeing that a lot of our women have masculine tendencies. Now, what are the reasons? It could be like lack of fatherhood, lack of leadership. Mother has to take on too many roles as opposed to just being able to be a nurturer. And for me, I don't necessarily always put the blame on the father. I put the blame on a lot of the mother because the mother has the ultimate ability to being able to keep a man around. The man is supposed to stay around, especially if he know that that's his seed. But the mother has the option to be able to pick who she actually gives a seed to. What could be some of the solutions to how we can effectively be able to communicate with our women?
I can't speak for all black men because, to be honest, some black men are trash. And that is something that black women will definitely make you aware of. And to that end, the first thing I would say is you got to be a very patient listener to black women. You might not agree with everything that they say, but just understand that they're speaking from their experiences. Because like I said, I've been chasing the same woman for 6 years. One of the conversations we have on a routine basis is the fact that black men don't X, Y, Z. And I can't tell you how sometimes how infuriating that conversation gets, but there's a lot to learn from what she said. So I listen. And one of the things is that we're sitting here having this conversation right now, black man to black man to black man. This is going to go up on Facebook and YouTube at some point.
And Anchor and Spotify. Hold on. I gotta promote my stuff.
So,
Anchor and Spotify. This is where you create your own content. It's sponsorship, y'all. I'm trying to get paid. Us as black men speaking about relationships, even though I'm single, talking about relationships and how black men ain't shit. But this is how we do it. Back to the conversation.
So now we got that plug. But I mean, we having this conversation though, and this would be a conversation that black women can actually watch and enjoy or not enjoy, and they can get in on it. One of the main complaints I've gotten from her and from other black women is that we don't talk about this stuff enough in public. This is something that we just talk amongst ourselves. So even those who are trying to do right, we usually working behind the scenes because, I mean, real men, that's how we usually do. We don't move in loudness, we move in silence. We tend to handle our business in silence. The problem is that while we doing our shit in silence, black women are being heckled, abused, raped, tortured, so on and so forth in public. And to them, and on top of that, being abandoned by other black men who hate black women. So all they see and hear is a lot of pain and a lot of black men not being there, even though a lot of us are doing the shit we need to be doing. It's just that we usually move in silence. So being out in the forefront of that stuff, be a listener, be an engaging listener, ask questions because they will be glad to tell you. Try not to take a lot of stuff that they say personally, because you might feel a person because you're going to be because you are a black man. It might not apply to you. And you got to remember that, because even though it may not apply to you, the fact of the matter is she's still talking to a black man, and her pain that she's going to convey is going to come from the place of you're a black man. So it don't apply to you, but you got to, I'm telling you, you're going to get somewhat triggered, so you got to be prepared for it, but you got to be patient. Be a patient communicator too. Hey, I get your experience, but let me share my mind with you. Because one of the things that I think black people got to do better is communicating the black male and the black female experience, because they're two different worlds. And I don't know if they're ever going to come together, but at the same time, it's better if we know what goes on in each. So that way we can try to avoid some of the same issues that we've been having for generations. We talk about, you know, black women being more masculine and whatnot. I think that's in part because black women have gotten to a state of survival. And we can't blame them for that, because they're the most disrespected race of all, you know, at least in America, if not the entire world. So because they're coming from a place of survival, men, we kind of, you know, not that we're not coming from a place of survival, but ours are more primitive, more primal. So ours is on a physical plane. It doesn't, you know, we leave our emotions at the door. We got to come back and get those. And then once we do that, we have to deal with the fact that women have been emotionally scarred, physically, mentally scarred too. So it's just a lot that, you know, it's a lot to process and deal with. And if that's one of those things where, to be blunt, if you don't want to bear that responsibility, you better make sure you find somebody who's not going to try to put that upon you. But there's not a black woman alive, in my opinion, who hasn't engaged, who hasn't had to deal with some of that stuff for her not to even have a story. So it's going to be hard to avoid that. But if you step outside, I can't speak for white men either. What they go through is different. However, white people to me have a certain privilege of not having to experience a certain struggle that black people do not.
Ice Cube.
What he do?
They holding his franchise hostage, the Friday franchise, and he's blaming them for not letting him put out any more Friday sequels. If they want to make another Friday, which I don't think they should, because 2 of the people are already dead, and Chris Tucker say he ain't coming back. Would y'all go see it? And what's up with urban movies not being as powerful as it was back in the day?
Would I see it? Nah. To be honest, even if he had WB backing, would I want to see another Friday? At this point, nah. There's nothing for me to. I don't think there'll be anything for me to see. And if John Witherspoon ain't in it, I don't want it. If I'm being honest, the urban movies back in the day were kind of like a niche thing. It was a new deal, so it had a new feel because black people weren't really starring in their own movies until like the late 90s, early 2000s. And now we're more mainstream. So because we're trying to branch out into everything that isn't quote unquote urban, which means we're trying to show ourselves more as executives and living in, areas where they're more affluent, stuff like that. I think you're going to see a lot less of those movies, and those movies end up going straight to DVD. And they shouldn't, because some of them are comical as hell and very good. But it's just that particular story. Nowadays, where that used to be a thing that used to entice people, nowadays I think it's kind of frowned upon. At least that's how I feel about urban movies.
Would I go see the next Friday if he even puts it out? Definitely not. Like you said, John Witherspoon's not in it. Chris Tucker's, he's not even gonna do it. That's kind of one of the main catalysts of the reason why a lot of people even consider doing it, consider watching it, is because of Chris if he comes back. Because there's a whole bunch of storylines that could go through.
How excited are y'all about Coming to America 2?
I didn't even need the second. Like, I don't know why we got a second. Like, I watched it, but I don't know why I needed a second one.
How dare y'all insult Eddie Murphy like that? Eddie Murphy has been good to this culture.
Can I keep it 100? Eddie Murphy is like what Nas albums used to be. Like, you get a good one every 10 years, but like, let's be honest, like, this is my perspective. When Eddie jumped out from the comic scene and started getting into movies and stuff like that, like, he hit it off real early, real quick, and then every now and everything after that was kind of just like,
What? You gonna act like Dolomite wasn't good?
Dolomite is my name.
You gonna act like when we came back to SNL, he wasn't on the top of his game?
Now, SNL, that shit was fucking fun. Stand-up comedy, skit comedy, that's his thing.
Man, how dare you insult Eddie like that? You should be ashamed. But I feel like sometimes we get so stuck off nostalgia that I just won't give like a sequel a chance. You so used to saying, oh, well, they can't top the first one. Give it a chance. Of course, it's not gonna be in your eyes as great as the first one, but sometimes, hey, the story feels like it's good, and they spent 4 years writing the script. Give the movie a shot. What is your favorite Eddie Murphy movie of all time?
Actually, it would be Coming to America, but I would put Daddy Daycare just because of the fact that I like Daycare.
I'm gonna have to go with Life. I love Life. He was talking about his daddy watch.
This watch is sterling silver. It's top shelf, top of the line, and it's very near and dear to my heart. So no wisecracks about it, or I'll whoop your ass.
That shit's hilarious to me.
See, for me, it's a tie between Life and Harlem Nights. And here's the thing, I had forgot about Boomerang. Boomerang's a goddamn movie. I can watch it. I can literally walk into any part of that movie and instantly know it's Boomerang. It could be a fucking tree movie. Oh, y'all watching Boomerang? I done seen Boomerang plenty of times.
I feel like I Spy don't get as much credit.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now you go over there and you bite her on the ass real hard. They love that shit. Don't break the skin, but bite it good so afterwards it's a mark on the ass. They love that shit, boy. Shit, show all the friends.
That shit's actually funny to me.
I ain't never heard somebody pick I Spy for their favorite Eddie Murphy movie.
I never heard nobody think that kid was their favorite.
Fair enough.
If they would do a reboot,
Life is
all nice, would you see it?
Hell yeah. Ooh, hold on. Nah.
Thank y'all for tuning in, getting a part of this little Shazam.
It just says Shazam. Y'all stay positive, y'all stay strong. It's Micah, Mania. MMK. Okay. We out. Yo.
Oh my
He said
goodness.
Shazam.